I'm really we've got a show here that we're supposed to talk about the old world, but I'm still a little too intrigued about Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. I'm wondering if we can't just pivot the entire show to be about that.
I mean,
I thought you were going to talk about the Dick lore.
There's a Dick lore? What is this?
Well, lore, like Dickie's lore.
Well, Dickie lore.
Dick lore.
Everybody knows Dickie lore. Everybody knows that he's killed a man. At least
trained killer. Trained killer.
Yeah, trained killer. CFL player.
Mm-hmm.
Weird ears.
Yeah, very weird.
Very much, if he wasn't married, in the running for Nicole Kidman's heart, I'm quite sure.
Nice.
Especially with Keith Urban going for a younger woman, from what I've just heard. That's the new
Is
stuff.
that true?
Well, there's
what
a lot of rumors.
What does Nicole Kidman have to do? What does she have? She literally did not. She did not age. What does she have to do?
She's so attractive. She's been, but I think
she's there's 75 years old, and she looks
58.
Not a day over 58.
She doesn't look a day over 58. Still would. But also, there's some rumor that he was upset that she was doing sexy movies again because she did that movie a year or two ago where she was having sex with her intern.
Oh yeah,
and
there's some kinky sex stuff in that one.
Yeah, good. But then Keith Urban upset about this. Also, maybe some bad habits coming back. Ends up with a younger woman. They separate. Wild stuff.
So, what do you think if Keith Urban were to break down, just lose all self-respect and start playing Old World? What faction?
That old world charm, doo-doo-doo-doo. That old world charm, reviews say it's all right.
And we're back, everyone. Yes, it's me, Peter the Falcon, with you as always. And I've got a very special guest and a very special co-host with me. Adam couldn't make it today. He's recording another podcast because he has a dozen of them or so now. But we've got Danny Sweet McDevitt with us.
Mm-hmm. I'm here, Peter, and I'm not collecting podcasts like Pogs.
No, you are not. You were only in 3 to 4 podcasts.
I just collect smashers, dude. That's all I do.
Smashers.
And another prolific podcaster has joined us.
Big PP.
Valerie Hefflefinger.
Oh, hi, Peter. Oh, hi, Danny. How are you?
Oh,
excellent. How are you?
So happy to have you here.
Pretty fantastic, I'd say.
I get to see you tomorrow in person, live and in color.
Oh, is the Squarebase tournament tomorrow?
Peter arrives for it late tomorrow evening, and then it's this weekend. Yeah.
Yep.
Still time, Danny. I can get you on a flight.
Sorry, today is my Friday, so yeah, no, and there's not enough time. There's not enough time for me to do that.
I suppose. Well, you're 5 hours in the future. I mean, in the past, that gives us more time.
You could You could speed paint a Beastman list and bring it, and
it's just brown, right?
Yeah,
is what I understand. And hooves,
big news.
Brown and hooves. It's if I made a
weapons, not important.
No
armor, not real.
No, if I released a paint set, it would just be called Brown and Hooves. That's it.
It would fly off the shelves
very well, dude.
So, guys, we've got a very special podcast with you. We brought Valerie on because we're talking again about comp systems.
Danny's favorite conversation. I was so hoping he'd be here tonight.
Yeah.
I was so, because if there's someone who the internet, if you have a people's champion, it's Danny fucking McDevitt.
He really is.
Look, I just want us to be playing the same game. That's all. What's wrong with that?
I mean, I'm with you in spirit.
Hey, actually, okay. All right. This is a great cross. This is a great cross opportunity because that's who this comp is for, Danny. It's for you.
It is?
For you. Yeah.
Is it? It's an October. It's a Halloween present. That's what you're saying? A little early.
We could get into it. We'll get into it.
We'll get into it. We haven't even introduced which comp we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, we're not even talking about Squarebase comp. Those guys.
I mean, we might.
We weren't going to talk about you because we were embarrassed for you, but then you asked to be on the show.
Let's go.
Now we gotta.
Let's go.
So yes, guys, we've talked about comp before many times, both like entire podcasts devoted to it and just offbeats in our Patreon episodes. But with kind of the state of the game the way it is, where we're kind of seeing some more and more complaints bubbling up about, say, balance due to certain armies. Mm-hmm. And also in the last week, a number of comps releasing like pretty massive updates to how they run. We felt maybe it was timely to give our uneducated stabs at them. And then Val asked to join us and talk about his new comp. And I figured, why not? Let's just do it all at once. So the main things we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about German comp, which is a comp that's kind of growing in popularity over on the other side of the sea and online. And the new square-based comp that was released, like 3 days ago, Val?
Yeah. No, it was a week ago.
Was it a week ago?
God, and by the time listening, Dickie gets around editing this, could have been weeks ago.
Could be 2 to 4 months from now.
Yeah.
You know how he works.
Yeah. He's got those lazy little ears.
Just so you guys know, it is July 7th, 2025 when we record
this. Sorry.
So I think with Val on, we should probably talk about like the elephant in the room, square-based comp. Let's start with that. So do you want to just introduce us, Val? What was the concept? What was your idea behind it? What is it? And we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. I think this sort of sprung. Well, my dear co-host Robert Symes, who you know very well, was in the Never Comp faction until fairly recently, and I think basically he runs a lot of events, and he has a very active WhatsApp community of players who've played in his events and talk about them, etc. And essentially, since the summer, it has been just a looping conversation about things that are very powerful or potent in the meta. And I think the like promise of 1.5 and Cathay's release were not met. They actually kind of feel like they had the opposite effect of what I feel like things were a lot happier in June before they made adjustments, which I think is really, really a shame. And also, I think underneath all of the calcification is a game that is better and more fun. And for whatever reason, unlike in other systems, Games Workshop has been very hands-off and silent on some critical things, I think. So I think Rob turned the corner and got on board because I've always been comp curious, even going back, I'd say as long ago as January, I was probably ready to do something actually very similar to what I think German comp accomplishes. Was sort of my initial idea, and I've talked out loud to you, Peter, and Rob, and on the show about the idea of using points as a handicap mechanism. And so when Rob and I started discussing about what we might do, we wanted to create a system that wasn't something that required you to know a new rule set, despite I think that not being necessarily a bad thing, but basically play the same game, but change it. But not the same meta, I guess would be the idea behind it. And very, very simply, it's we took a stab at tiering the factions. So there's an A tier, a B tier, a C tier, and a D tier. The A tier is 2,000 points. That's I probably more colloquially known as the S tier of factions. And then each tier below that gets a buff of 200 points, which is significant. So like the D tier factions get an extra 600 points against them. And then as I was focus grouping this with yourself and a couple other trusted advisors, one of the major criticisms was more points isn't always, in fact, often it can be a bad thing. So we added a mechanic for when you're scoring, that you sort of normalize the kill points back to 2,000 points. So every tier has a kill point modifier, where basically it's like, I think the D tier is 0.77. So if you killed 1,000 points of D tier stuff, you actually kill 770 of it. So that way everyone's on the same footing as far as the value of their points are concerned. And that's the whole concept. And I think the idea is that we're not taking away anything from the top tier armies, although that is, not the whole truth. But the top tier armies just play the game as they were. There's no change to them. And the other armies, by virtue of having more points, become more efficient by definition, because now their units are essentially getting a price cut. So that's the way it is. And we're going to be kicking it off. There's already a bunch of RTTs in motion that are going to be making use of it around the world. There's a practice one I know for Cali Cup, and we'll be running it at the California Cup on November 15th, 16th.
Oh,
in
interesting.
Pomona, California. Yeah.
How many people do they have signed up for California so far?
So before this announcement, we had 14. It was going to be an intimate affair. And as of right this second, we're at 30 and sold out. And I think they're going to open up another 10 tickets. And there seems to be demand for that. So hopefully we'll hit sort of the Square-based Open Toronto numbers in the 40s somewhere, which would be the largest event in California, as far as I know. And they're definitely eager. That I don't want to speak for every single person who signed up, but definitely there has been some sign up driven by this, and certainly I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm sure there are people who will be turned off by this. Maybe not, but we'll see. But my goal is to help everybody out as much as possible. Help people find models if they need extra models or whatever to make it work, because getting this in some real world reps and to see, especially with sort of a crafty and engaged group like you have out in Southern California, would be really great to see what actually winds up happening. So yeah, that's it.
What are your thoughts, Danny?
Well, all right. So I like what it does. All right. So how did you divide the armies, Val, into their various different categories?
As in, like, what was the process, or as in, like, which armies are in what tiers?
No, I mean, I can see that based on the map or the graphical interface here. But like, what makes the Dwarven Mountain Holds a C rank army as opposed to like a B rank army or a D rank army? Like, what did you base on? Like, how did you get these different armies into different barrels?
Yeah, I think, well, a lot of it would be driven by experience,
Sure.
but also supported, I think, often by some of the stats. The problem with the stats is there's just so few reps for a lot of armies. There's really a handful that are even up over 400 or 500 match play. Actually, I don't think there's anything that has over 500 appearances in the match play guide meta. And anything sort of below that upper tier is getting into maybe 100 or 200 examples. Okay. So you do have to use, this does require some intuition for sure. And like there's like, and that's why I'm very curious to see what happens when it does get into the hands of gamers. Because there's ones, again, this is a creative partnership. So, we had to negotiate on where things wound up falling. And there were ones that I thought maybe should be in a different tier than they wound up in. And I'm sure Rob feels the same way about others. And I'm sure people who have viewed the document feel the same way. I think that will reveal itself more, though, as it's actually used. And it might be a complete disaster. But I think the context of that is that, like, a complete disaster, might be a very silly Army of Infamy having a good run at a tournament. So I don't know how bad that necessarily is. So yeah, I'm definitely excited by the prospect of people coming out with armies maybe a little more enthusiastically than they would normally, or coming out at all. Because what I did see was with Squarebase Open Toronto, we didn't have growth. We actually we didn't sell as many tickets as we did last year, which is not something I ever saw in 40K. And LVO, for reasons probably beyond just this, was half. I think 40K was half too. But I haven't looked at other ones, but I think there's definitely been a sense that, tournament attendance and engagement seems to be dipping. And whether it's this solution or others, I think it behooves TOs to find things that their communities might get into.
Cool. Do you feel like the change to the kill point modifier, do you think it makes it annoying to calculate up scores? Do you think that part becomes more difficult?
So if you're hand cranking this, scoring match play games is already a lot. But really all you're doing is you're literally taking the sum that you calculate on your phone at the end of the game of your kill points, and you're multiplying it by 0 point something. So it's really not too onerous. It's just applying the brain power to know to do that. However, there's also tools. So we've already built a scorecard that would not be attached to BCP. And knock wood, this will be supported with a BCP scorecard as well to make it really easy. Because then you don't have to think about differential or anything. You just score it, and that you get the number you get.
I was going to ask if this is something that New Recruit was planning on implementing.
Or Old World Builder.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that you actually don't need them because we don't have any restrictions on, like, for example, even Squarebase Open Toronto is kind of an older concept. I brought us up to 2,200 points because there was some demand for larger armies, but I didn't want to go whole hog. Sure. And but I kept the character restriction at 1,000 points, because again, I was worried that people would be like, well, so many characters. For this, just for the very reason of keeping it level and as same as possible, there is no restriction on characters. The only restriction is a hard cap on the max that you can spend on each unit or character, which would be 500 points. So that does stay the same. That is a flat restriction.
Except the Ragnarok.
Except the Ragnarok. I got
what? Is that real?
Yes.
I see it right here.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's real. That was just me being like, well, then there should be an exception for the Ragnarok. Rob's like, okay, fine, I'm putting it in. I'm like, and then so it was in. Because we need the spider on the tables, guys. It needs to happen. And he does fit in, by the way, under 500 points. It's just, you can't do much with him. You can't add a bunch of kit to him. Anyway, so yeah, that's really the only additional. And then also Cathay and balloon restriction, which I still think is appropriate. And even right now, like in getting all the details squared away for Cali Cup, I'm getting questions of like, are we going to change the stacking cannonball modifiers? Are we going to change Wand of Jet? And in my head, I'm like, no. Like I feel like just let that ride and see what happens.
Yeah, I think the problem with not doing that is then you hurt all the other A-tier armies by putting Cathay in a tier.
This did occur to me. Yep.
Like 8 other armies, all of those armies that aren't getting any kind of buff that Cathay just beats. Almost like if you looking at the data, what Cathay's losing to right now is like Orcs and Goblins, which are getting an extra 200 points.
Yeah.
And like Tomb Kings, if they're played like extremely well, they're not necessarily losing to Bretts or Wild Herd or Vampire counts very much. So, it kind of puts them at a disadvantage. But all comps are going to run into this, right? No matter how complex you make them. So I do applaud, the simplicity of this. I think when you were pitching it to me, I was kind of in the middle of doing 8 other things. So I was a bit curmudgeonly about it. More because I understand what you're going with. I feel like the complaint about I have to do more math was just going to immediately come from people. Mm-hmm. And B, sometimes these overly simplistic solutions just create vastly worse problems than you expect. So
I think the best case scenario for this is that it creates new problems. I think that's honestly the best case scenario. And I don't think that and ideally there's enough legs in everything else that there are solutions to the new problems, because we are in a situation where there aren't solutions to the current problem.
yeah.
So that's that. I mean, it is an injection of chaos. There's no doubt about that. And I think like this is maybe when we're coming at it from a cerebral place. There's also just I'm hoping most people are like, oh shit, I get 200 more points. Sick. Like that's also kind of what I'm hoping is where the thought comes. Oh wait, I'm gonna have more points against this list that has been beating the shit out of me for 18 months. Great. Like that's kind of what I'm hoping. And then like whether or not that results in new meta monsters, which by the way, I think 100% it will.
I mean, giving like high elves an extra 400 points when they're already, I think, a relatively strong army is pretty crazy. And wood elves, even though wood elves aren't putting up numbers, 600 points is a lot.
It's a lot.
I was thinking what I could do with that.
Right?
Like, you can run double dragon and still have like a decked out caster and other stuff in if you have 1,300 points of characters in Wood Elf realms.
I will tell you one concession I made in the Kali Cup pack is that High Elves and Shratian Warhost went to B tier.
Which I think is
that's fine.
I think it's better. I don't think they're a C tier army, but
and it also immediately made me realize that this is very like moddable to your local scene, which I think I like as well. So like I was able to just do that. And so a TO who's running, like, if in your shop the local hero is Orcs and Goblins, well, in your shop maybe Orcs and Goblins is an A-tier army. You know, like I think that does. I think it just provides a framework and permission to handicap. You know, in this case, maybe there's a particular person in Southern California who just got handicapped by his friends. but like there's the opportunity to do that, whereas right now there's no permission to do that. And so like I think that's one upside. But yeah, I think Wood Elves, I don't know. We did our review of Wood Elves a little while back. I guess that was in the spring when the Arcane Journal came out. And I was just blown away by it felt like a legacy faction. Like it really did in a lot of ways. And yes, they have a dragon, but they're so expensive and so bloody delicate. And I'm sure skilled players could get something out of them, but they do feel like a misery. So, you know, people who are excited for getting their Wood Elves back on the table and have been just fighting into the wind for so long, I don't think I'm necessarily mad about them having an advantage all of a sudden. And if it's way overcooked, again, peel it back. I think that's the way we should look at it.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what you know, and I think fundamentally this is what the friggin' company should be doing.
I mean, you're right.
I 100% agree there. I feel like what you started with, we got this big 1.5, and it's kind of felt like, you know, normally when you see someone drop a big FAQ, and even like with 40K, they're often like they've got their finger on the pulse right away. That if they screwed up, you can expect kind of like a secondary tiny fix a month later or less. And it feels like they dropped 1.5 and they're like, cool, we're working on 2.0 now, so we're done here. We did our best. That's like the feeling you get, right? Like they haven't FAQ'd the Cathay book at all, where they've done every other book about a month in. They've given at least a small FAQ to fix even just like spelling errors and shit. And they haven't done the Jade Fleet book either, even though there's like actual problems in the Jade Fleet book where like there's a banner that doesn't work on paper because it's labeled the wrong thing. They never even bothered to fix that. And like it's very out there how much more powerful Cathay is right now than all of the other armies. So I feel like we are in a place where we should be doing something. And I've always been a proponent of comps in the sense that I always look at it a little differently in that, yes, I do kind of love the concept of there being an overarching rule set that everybody uses. but I'm also always stoked when someone's like, we're trying this new thing, and it lets me list build in a different way. So
sure. Yeah. And I guess that's like, and not to discredit, because there's a couple I want to say, like, there's a couple I think really good criticisms that have come across that I don't want to be dismissive of. One, it's that the A-tier armies, and you even raised the point about Cathay versus the A-tier armies. I think that's very valid, and I think that's worth considering. So the other two common nerfs for Cathay, and maybe I've been convinced in real time. But beyond that is also that the A-tier armies now will feel pressure to bring their best list. Like there is. And to me, that's a little bit of privilege, because previously they could bring a less efficient list and still hang, or, like at least have a good day at the office. Whereas like the silliness that Skaven has had to turn to, especially the legacy, just the straight legacy PDF, is just so bonkers and so unscavenly that now that they are suddenly more efficient and they can have fun with some stuff. I think that's an okay turning of the tables, but I can see why someone who wasn't running, all the Mortis engines and all the Screams or whatever, and was trying to run like his favorite Necromancer with some zombie pals and some skeletons and stuff. Like, yeah, now they're going to be in tough. But I also would like to think that a person like that is not entirely geared to winning the whole event, obviously. And so the presence of those very strong factions forces the majority of the other armies to not be able to bring anything that isn't efficient.
Yeah.
So
I don't think you're wrong. And I also think Skaven, especially Renegade Skaven at 2,600 points, doing the silly thing that works for them in like a team's environment might actually be oppressive. Because taking like two effectively 1,000-point units of Storm Vermin and still having 600 points to play with for other stuff can be pretty hard to deal with.
It's a lot of rats.
Yeah, it's a lot of rats, a lot of actually good rats with a bunch of characters in them, right?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. And like, I think for those listening, because I have seen like a lot of talk online, and I would say it's like, I don't know, 60-40 positive to negative, maybe 50-50, where like a lot.
I put it around. It depends on where you are, but I'd say in the worst places I've been, 50-50. Yeah, absolutely. But I think, and I said this on the show today, the most impressive thing is that most of the time it's not about whether or not to comp. It's about how to comp.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why the rest of the show is interesting too.
Yeah, and I think that's a very interesting thing. Yeah, because like a lot of like the hyper competitive players I talk to about it are very much like, I'm not going to do this, or I'll give it a try, but like it's not going to work type thing. And I find it's more like the people that are in that mid-table position, or where they've been playing a lot and they're just frustrated because they're constantly losing, that they now are like, I get my points to play, like I want to give it a go. So I am kind of excited to see where that goes. Like, excited might not be the proper word, because you know me, Val, I don't get excited by a whole lot. Other than
just Keith Urban.
Just Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman is so attractive at 58 years old.
She's like 95, dude.
It's so amazing. Do you remember that story about Nicole Kidman and Jimmy Fallon, where he like found out later like that she
why did I do this
hitting on him, and he didn't know, and I was just like, that guy, that fucking Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. Dude.
Anyway, back to the show.
One SNL sketch. So like, what do you expect out of him?
It's true. Yeah, it's true. He couldn't make it through a single sketch that he practiced many times in advance. How should I expect that he would catch on that Nicole Kidman wanted to sleep with him one night?
Exactly.
My God, what an idiot. Yes, square-based comp.
So Danny, so as Danny, as a staunch never comper, and someone who does want to see the game remain the same, is this even a concept that at least is somewhat appealing?
No.
The execution isn't there.
I will almost always play any compact that my opponent wants to, like on a one-off. And I don't mind this for events as long as it's known ahead of time. This potentially, like, I mean, I guess it's just all about reading the mission pack and stuff like that. I can definitely see saying you're using these comp values, and then showing up to a tournament and some dude who doesn't like go on the internet is like, oh, I just brought 2,000 points of like my, D tier faction. Like, I can see that being potentially an issue. I mean, that's on this person, but any kind of block to accessibility, I think, is a potential issue. But you guys are doing this for the right reasons. Like, Games Workshop is not updating this game like it needs to be because there are some serious issues that we've consistently seen, and then Cathay just further compounds a bunch of those issues, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I will actually point something else out because it's an old world channel. Rob recently did an analysis of his of his tournaments, and he does basically AOS and old world are his bread and butter. He runs multiple every month, and he had something like 240 AOS players, but he had 170 old world players. And that's in Nottingham, and it's that close. That's very super anecdotally here in Toronto. We are running the Squarebase Open, and we're at 46 players. The AOS event in the same room on the same day is at 43 players. So I think I don't know really what that says, and I don't know globally, but even just looking at the amount of GTs and AOS that I saw in this region and around, I don't think it's absurd to think that there is an actual like lot of players, relatively speaking, to even AOS that play this game. Certainly dwarfed by 40, like not even sniffing 40K, but like, the amount of support and effort that AOS gets, the duty of care that they show for that game versus what I think is player demand for this game, is like, it's kind of atrocious. And I just hope that if the community starts doing more stuff like this, that it rattles the cage enough that they respond to it. That's it.
Yeah.
I agree. And what's probably going to happen is tomorrow morning we're going to see a 1.6 FAQ, and this whole episode will be worthless.
Right.
But like that would be the dream. In reality, like we said, like it's just they put out they did a bunch of work. We got really excited about it, and then all that work was for naught. And then they didn't want to do anything more for us. So this is Squarebase Comp. I think the only other question I have for you, as some of our listeners may have as well, is there a plan for like a Renegade 2.0 pack now, or is this like it? Are you going to run just 1.5?
Oh, yeah. No. 2.0's got to happen. 100% 2.0's got to happen.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but it's got to happen once I've got a few things out of the way. But I've been looking forward to November as when I can actually focus on it again. And there's lots of good ideas. There's lots of good ideas in the next compact that we're going to look at that make my job a lot easier. And so, yeah, and like so much, mostly what I really want to do is give service and credit to like the incredible outpouring of ideas and feedback that we've gotten, that I've gotten from Renegades, and just make sure that I do give it all its fair shake, so that the choices that are made for 2.0 are very informed, and I can guarantee they will be, because the community has been absolutely awesome. So yeah, and so 2.0 I think will just bring in some more of those finer details that the first version didn't do, by virtue of not wanting to tip the canoe too early.
Okay. So with all that said, let's move on to our second comp. So one thing we've kind of talked about in the past about comps is like they can be very varied. Squarebase comp, a much more simplified variation on a comp pack, where it's just like we're giving you more points to play with, and you have to do a small calculation at the end of the game to make it all math out. In previous versions of the old world in Warhammer Fantasy, we've seen like vast arrays of comps, including like Swedish tournament comp, which used like an insane point system of reductions and increases based on what you ran, on top of point increases for armies on top of restrictions on items and things like that. We've seen
what if your comp system had a secondary points system strapped on top of it?
Yeah, and I remember Swedish comp at its most popular was like 40 pages long. It felt like it was insane.
Was it supported by a list builder anywhere? That was all hand cranked, right?
No, it was all hand cranked, and the TOs had to hand crank like you were supposed to score your own list, but the TOs had to verify the Swedish tournament comp score for your list to make sure it was legal in your tournament. By
Players
also
will
doing
have very
calculus
forearms at that point in time.
Yeah. And then there's been Aussie comps for years. Australia has done their own thing for millennia. There have been multiple Aussie comps. I know like the narrative side of the old world has had like an Aussie comp, and then there's like a competitive Aussie comp. And the one we're about to talk about, German comp has been around for a long time as well, or variations of it. And that's kind of the next one because it's starting to bubble up again with some online tournaments and with some play overseas. Overseas being that we are in North America. So German comp is a far more complex take on trying to balance the game. But the one thing they do say is like it's a tiered comp list. So you can choose to only take parts of it if you like. They list it as they have a restriction pack, which is built to just try to balance all of the factions against each other. A game changer pack, which is meant to change actual like rules of the game that they feel are abused pretty frequently. And then a point pack, which actually adjusts points and does like internal balance for factions so that you feel more comfortable taking what would be considered like worse choices in a lot of lists. I know this is done by a pretty large team. They have the LD3 community is that what runs it. They have their own Patreon. And they put in a ton of work, and it's not just like one guy trying to figure it all out. Like it's a lot of people putting their brains together and based on their experiences at like their competitive level, trying to make things work. It's not for everybody. That's for sure. There's a lot to it. We're not going to go through like literally every line by line thing because it is like 10 or 12 pages long. But we'll kind of cover the big basics. And then if you guys want to take a look, go online, just do a quick search for German comp. I believe they're at 2.0 right now.
I think you could also include the link to it in the description of this podcast.
Yeah, I will. And I'll also link the LD3 Patreon if you guys want to support them because like they're doing their own work for the community. Also, Old World Builder has its own list creation option for a German comp. You do have to download some JSON files to make it work.
Oh, cool.
But you can build lists with German comp in mind because of that. So,
if I could, because I've been getting again the criticisms of Squarebase comp are that it doesn't do anything to address game balance, like sort of especially and also like internal balance and restrictions. And if anything, it's a very gloves off thing with just making certain things more efficient. Now, the people who aren't into that and they don't like the fact that is just going to make it's going to make a tournament style meta, I think. German comp is kind of like Renegades. It would be the vibe, and it also uses Renegades.
It does,
but for the game, it's ballsy. I guess the Germans don't care what the internet thinks, and they've clearly put their work in on this. So this is much more the idea of like micro comp. This is fixing things line by line. This is the kind of work you would like to see done by Games Workshop. In fact, I would not be mad if Games Workshop just did this, so like, or at least at first blush. So anyway, I just wanted to say that this is for those people yearning for something like that and were mad that they didn't get it from what we proposed. This is definitely that.
Yeah. Like if you're into a nitty gritty change of everything in the game, this is German comp, and like they do change an awful lot. I will say, like, having like read through it a few times because I am going to be in a tournament next month using German comp, so I have to and all three pillars of it. Like there are definitely going to be a lot of things like, if you're a more casual player or you don't get to a lot of events, you're just not going to be interested in. And if that's the case, I would recommend like maybe throwing in a game with just the restriction pack or just the game changer pack, because I believe those two in particular, like they make some pretty like sweeping changes to how the game is played without necessarily like having to like change how you think of a faction. The pointed pack is like it's real down to like the nuts and bolts of things, and that might throw more people off.
And I would also say, just before we get into it too, I do want to also point out that they are clever with how they do things. Like, for example, a lot of the ways that they reduce points is by removing the cost for certain upgrades. Their Fly X restriction is kind of used as a catch-all for limiting problem units.
Yeah, that and War Machines. Yeah, I agree. I was going to make that point too. I thought that was smart.
Yeah, I think those are two big ones. Those are my two favorite things, honestly, is the Fly and the War Machine changes.
Yeah. So I overall, like I reached out. I know it's a team that works on it, but God Herder, I know on Discord has talked to me a lot about it, and just I reached out, gave him huge kudos on it because I just think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and like they released an update to it, I believe in the last 24 hours since we just before we started recording. So, so I'll go over quick and we kind of can just discuss some of the options here. Like I said, we'll do the restriction pack or at least big parts of it. We'll talk a bit about the game changer. For the pointed, maybe I'll let you guys like pick out if there's one or two things from that you kind of I think are huge that you want to talk about. Otherwise, we can kind of just skim it because like it's like probably 5 pages of that stuff. But so for the restriction pack, general rules: if you're running a German comp game, they expect you to play 2,000 points. You're not allowed to run allies. You are allowed to run mercs, but you have a rule of 3 for merc units, so you can't do like 8 Doom Seekers or anything like that in certain lists. As an example, they recommend that they require you to use both the grand melee and combined arms rules, which I don't think is a huge deal. I think most competitive events are kind of doing that now. Since I actually don't know why GW decided to do it that way. I feel like they really should have just combined the two right from the get-go. But then they've added that if you have a unit who has a base cost of 5 or higher for their per model basis, you can't go more than unit strength of 40 for the unit. So you can't get like giant blocks of like 50, 60, 70 storm vermin or something like that. Regular infantry and heavy infantry can only go up to 12 models wide, and that includes characters. Cavalry and monstrous infantry are unit strength 15 wide, so you're maxed at 7 for cav and 5 for monstrous infantry and monstrous cav. If a unit can be taken in multiple categories, you always use the strictest category limit for the total. And then they've added on a maximum of 0 to 4 units with the Fly X special rule, and 0 to 4 war machines or models with weapons that use war machines shooting rules, with an exception that bolt throwers only count as half a war machine because they generally suck. So that's like your general overall thing. And like Danny and Val mentioned, the Fly and the war machine ones are like, I feel like the biggest changes. I know in Europe, Line Hammer was way bigger than it was in North America. So having those restrictions on the unit widths are important. But I think those last two really kind of balance the field in a lot of ways. And then each faction has its own kind of built-in protections. So Bretonia, this is taken from the Renegade pack, I believe, right? Or maybe it's not in the Renegade pack, but just in how you guys have done your square-based events. The Green Knight, if it's slain, he always will give up half his victory points if he comes back, and he cannot charge in the first player turn of a battle. So he can charge if he comes in on later turns. Lady
that is, by the way, different to things that we've done. And I followed for Square Base Open Toronto, just that he can't charge when he comes out of reserves. And that came from the WTC pack.
Yeah, and I like that better. I don't like him just popping up an inch away from people and charging, even if it is round 2 or 3, because it's such a pain. That's my opinion. And he's still, I played a game against him the night before last with that rule in place, the WTC rule in place, and he was still devastating in that game. Lady Duchard, Virtue of Knightly Temper on a Pegasus, and each Pegasus Knight unit over 4 models, and every full 6 Pegasus Knights in a unit, each count as an additional half of a flying unit for the 0 to 4 fly restriction. So really just trying to keep you from running like 12 Pegasus Knights in a list, counting characters, which is a pretty devastating thing. So you're now limiting yourself to like 4 and a couple characters if you want to go that route. Also, the Green Knight, if you want to use them, counts as a model with the fly special. So once again, kind of further limiting what you can take in terms of like Peg Knights and special characters on the Bretonia side. Beastman Brayherds, they've limited Dark Coven so that it can only be used once per player turn per shaman, and you cannot combine it with the Jagged Dagger to get like a +6 or 7 to cast on a spell.
Yeah.
For Chaos, Chaos Dragons, Galrock, Warpfire Dragons, and Gigantic Chaos Spawn all count as an additional unit for the fly unit restriction. So that would mean that the dragons all count as 2 models for the fly, and Chaos Spawn count as 1. So you can't go like really monster mashy with Chaos. For Chaos Dwarves, if you take models with toughness 7 or higher, they count as being a model with the fly special rule, or as an additional model with the fly special rule, so you can't stack a ton of like Bale Tauruses.
And Iron Demons.
And Iron Demons, correct. Cathay, and for Jade Fleet, they say you also have to look at Empire for Jade Fleet, but Thunderous Impact does not stack, which is something I wish GW would have fact anyway, because that can be very frustrating if you play with it that it does, limiting your movement. Sky Lanterns have their wounds dropped to 5 instead of 7. They remove Unbreakable, and they remove Fire and Flee from them. That might be that's a lot of changes, but like I get it, like they're probably like 100 points undercosted, so maybe this is what you need to do. Miao Ying and each character on a Sky Lantern additionally count as an additional unit for the 0 to 4 fly unit special rule, so they each count as 2. Okay. They also require you to take 33% core in Cathay, and Ogre Loaders and Rings of Jet count as war machines. So if you take a cannon with an Ogre Loader, that's 2 war machines, not just 1. So these are some pretty heavy nerfs to the most egregious parts of the Cathay list.
So, like, if we just did that in the current meta, what would that do to Cathay? Like, without anyone else having any of the other restrictions?
It's a significant nerf. Like that Sky Lantern, all those Sky Lantern changes, capping them effectively at 2. 1 if you want to run Miao Ying, dropping their wounds by 2. Removing Unbreakable is actually massive, as well as Fire and Flee.
Yeah.
Like that is
huge. That's mostly what I want. Like I want those gone more than, I mean,
they can still float away, right?
Feels much better.
It can float away, but Unbreakable, like one of the Cathay problems is they cap at leadership 9, and they don't really have like a lot of the really only strategists and magistrates kind of fix major leadership problems for them. Unbreakable makes it so that like unless you one-shot a Sky Lantern, you never kill it. But with the fact that it can now fire and flee, it can now Fabigo or break completely. Like you can really cause some serious damage to them. It adds if you can catch them, which there's a lot of armies that can.
But aren't they still able to just float away? Like don't they still have their disengage rule?
The disengage rule. The main reason why the disengage rule works is because of Unbreakable. Right, because you always just pass, and then your opponent can only ever move like 2 inches for their follow-up move, because that's what it is. It says they have to follow up. They only get like their 2-inch push. Now you would actually get your like a proper follow-up if they Fabigo, because it's only on the Unbreakable give ground that they can choose to Fabigo instead. So you can keep them in combat. Which is another big thing. And then the Ogre Loader and Ring of Jet thing. I mean, like Ring of Jet, we've seen people spamming like 3 or 4 in some pretty competitive lists that have either won or top 3 events. Ogre loaders, of course. I mean, double shooting cannons is just a painful thing on top of everything that Cathay does. So these are all like these are huge nerfs. The 33% core nerf, it is effective. I will say that, but Jade Lancers are actually relatively good. So having to bump up to like 660 points isn't that huge with them. Topping it off with the Ring of Jet change, though, that can be a big factor because that's often how people up the points on their Jade Lancers as they start to spam the Rings of Jet. Demons of Chaos, they just give you a little buff in that Chaos Furies only count as half of a unit for units with the fly special rule, so you can take more of them and still take your Bloodthirsters and such.
Yeah.
Dark Elves, you cannot stack Black Dragons and Shield of Grond. You can have like up to 2 Black Dragons or a Black Dragon and a Shield of Grond. That's it. Dwarves, the Bursting Flame rune they have count as half of a War Machine. So your like Murder Thane or Murder Engineer is slightly impactful to your list.
I really wish it was just like a whole War Machine.
I think it should be too. Yeah, I think that.
But honestly, what else are they going to take for half a War Machine here? So I mean, it does effectively count as one whole War Machine, right?
Yeah. Actually, you're right. And then, I guess
you could have more than one of them.
They could have.
It's Master Room. It's Master Room.
That's their half thing is the bolt thrower, right? So they could take a bolt thrower.
Oh, there you go.
3 cannons.
That makes sense.
And then every 4.
Do bolt throwers really need to count as a War Machine?
They're pretty bad. Although I've had some pretty good success with the Orc and Goblin one because it's only like 40 points.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sometimes it kills one model, and then you're like, I got my points back.
Nice.
That's the only one that matters, though. I would not run any of the others. Every full 4 gyrocopters, both scout gyrocopters and normal, count as an additional unit for the 0 to fly unit restriction. This is good because we have seen gyrocopter spam come into play, I guess, more than come back, both as a counter to Cathay and because it's just a frustrating list to play against.
Mm-hmm.
Empire, each Outrider unit counts. They basically had it a math thing. If you run a unit of 4 to 5 Outriders, it doesn't count as a War Machine. 6 to 7 Outriders counts as half of a War Machine. If you go 8 or more, it counts as a full War Machine. This nerfs Empire State of Null, which has started to really rear its head as a very competitive list, especially with Cathay being strong, because it actually has a pretty solid game into Cathay if it goes first.
Yeah, so I guess what you're losing. Yeah, you're losing your cannons. Yeah, you're losing your cannons. Yeah, that's big.
So it really nerfs Null pretty significantly. This might be overboard for them, but with the other changes, maybe not. So High Elves, Star Dragon with Seed of Rebirth counts as basically 2 fly models. And then Sisters of Avalorn, if you're not running them as core, so you're not nerfing yourself by running them as core, any unit over 9 models counts as half of a unit for your fly unit restriction.
Yeah.
Both of those, I think, are fine. The double Star Dragon with Seed of Rebirth doesn't need to also have a bunch of Sisters of Avalorn in its list.
It's not like you're taking more than... I mean, I guess, could you take 3 of the little baby ones? Oh, but this is just Star Dragons.
Yeah, you could still do like Sun Dragons if you wanted to go the alternate route, right? They're not as good, but like they still do the job.
Yeah.
Then Khemri, Icon of Rakath cannot be used to pursue into a fresh enemy. This is just like stopping a bit of an abuse that people had started to come up with Tomb Guard lists. 0 to 2 of Armor of Ages, Warding Splint, and Necrolith Bone Dragons. So if you want to run those combos, you really can't. You can basically put an Armor of Ages on a Necrolith Bone Dragon and you're done. Or you can do double Bone Dragon. They also further limit it that you can only have either up to 2 Bone Dragons or Necrosphinxes in your list. So this really nerfs like the Phil Carl Monster Mash Tomb King list that has done very well. Effectively making it just not a thing you're allowed to do.
Yeah.
High Priests with Necromancy count as an additional unit for your War Machine restriction. A lot of people would say this doesn't seem like a big deal because you never see war machines. However, the other thing is they count Ushabti with bows as war machines. Effectively, every like 1.5 Ushabti count as a war machine is whether than going through their full breakdown. So you're kind of capped at like 12 Ushabti in a list, unless if you're not going to take Necromancy on a High Priest. And then they also added that Tomb Guard count as heavy cavalry for Arise, so they only get the wizard level +1 instead of wizard level +D3 back, because that Necrotech Tomb Guard list is pretty powerful. And then Orcs and Goblins, you can only have 1 Fanatic per unit per Night Goblin unit, Night Goblin character, Squig Herd, Squig Hoppa, and then Arachnarok Spiders count as 3 Night Goblin units. This isn't that
hell yeah.
It is a buff to Arachnaroks. You still won't ever see them. But because you have to take a Night Goblin character for every Night Goblin unit, like you're already up to 6 Fanatics that you can take if you take 3 units of Night Goblins. Mm-hmm. So, and then adding 2 Squig Herds or Squig Hoppas is it's not that big of a nerf. Most lists, I would say, that are competitive Orcs and Goblins lists are starting to take Squig Hoppas anyway. So
I was on that from Hop.
Yeah, they're very good. And then Vamps. You can only take up to 2 Master Necromancers and Mortis Engines. And there's a comma there. So it's like you can have a Master Necromancer and a Mortis Engine, or you can have, I guess, a Master Necromancer and then a Mini Necromancer on a Mortis Engine, but you can't do like double Master Necro on Mortis Engine. Yeah. Also, Mortis Engines and Terrorgeists, you can only have up to 2 of those things. So if you want to take a Terrorgeist, you're limited to 1 Mortis Engine in your list. And you're limited to 2 Zombie Dragons and Terrorgeists. So like they're really limiting the big boys in vampire lists.
That's interesting that Banshees skated this one.
Yeah, I think the place they nerf Banshees is in one of the older packs. Banshees counted towards as an extra, I think, towards Fly, but they don't do that anymore. Yeah, because you're still limited on Banshees because they don't even have Fly. But I think the previous one they counted as like half a model with Fly, and they don't have that in here. They also, for Invocation of the Heck, just like for Tomb Kings, your Graveguard are heavy cav. And then your White Lord cannot be a battle standard bearer. So only the White King can be. Or the vampire, baby vampire.
Well, the White King can't be a battle standard bearer. So you have to
so you have to use your vampire baby.
Yeah.
That's hot. Actually,
I think that's a good change.
That's a really good change.
That's a little change there. Yeah, that's a good one. So do you think you take, like, if you're just going to heal the same Graveguard as heavy cavalry, do you think you might see some Black Knights?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
So they also have a ruling in the Game Changer pack that you can't use regen on unstable,
which I love that
way.
Why is that not a rule yet, Games Workshop?
That is something like, yeah, but a lot of people just think it's purposeful, right? Because they used to specify it in an FAQ and then they just pulled out the whole wording of it. So
it sure seems to me like it's on purpose, but then they forgot about Arise and Invocation to Heck, like for some reason, like and Indomitable, like it's the stacking of like this. Really not a big deal if you didn't have 4 other ways to avoid damage or restore damage. Like it's a bit bananas with that. The White Lord cannot be the battle standard bearer is fascinating because that is a Forge World model.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah. So what do you guys think I don't know how I feel about that one. Obviously, I don't like it.
I mean, I like it because it means you have to take vampires in your vampire counts army.
Yeah. It's like nobody does that unless you were doing the zombie dragon, or the, what's his face, the Abyssal Terror. But most people weren't. They were going for the zombie, right? The fact that this also uses Renegade Pack also is interesting. Because you guys did make Vampire Lords better, much to the chagrin of competitive vampire players. If you read,
that's some of the most vicious attacks against renegades are from vampire count players because they're mad the vampire is leadership 10, leadership 9, not even leadership 10.
Yeah, they just hate that you did that. You nerfed their Master Necromancer builds.
Well, you can just not make the vampire a wizard, and he doesn't have to be your general, guys. But whatever.
But then they can't do the illusion doppel count, which is like the whole point.
I guess true. Yeah, I guess
they can't do it. They can't do their favorite thing.
Well,
you're ruining.
It looks like they'll have to be the general, like they always were. So you're like roided up and lunatic monster masher. Always was in danger.
I thought I had read these game changers. These game changers are hot. I love almost every single one of these.
Yeah, they're good.
So, guys, if you're in German comp and you're listening to this, or you know who wrote it, just understand the one person who hates every comp loves what you wrote.
I also really, really, really want to highlight like how hard this is. So, like, even in just reading through that, like I had emotional reactions to so many of those. Like when I read through it, I was like, "Oh, it seems good." And then, like as I'm looking at what they do to Outriders. I'm looking at like, my Forge World White Lord can't be the standard bearer. Like, and I'm getting like I'm happy and I'm pissed. And it's like, I mean, that's just going to happen when you do these types of little tweaks and changes. Is that not everyone is going to react the way that you think, or like that you do, or that way that you've considered it. And so it's just it's incredibly hard and, dare I say, brave to even attempt something like this. It is tremendously ambitious. Yeah,
I mean, like you've kind of of the ones we just talked about, we've mentioned the White Lord thing for Val. The Outrider thing is the first one that I read that I was like, "Oh, that might be too much for an army that's like it's good, but I don't think it's that great."
And also, like, very clearly, I mean, some of these things seem to be anticipating a meta, like limits. For example, there are a lot of limits there on vampire counts things that I wouldn't necessarily thought to have done. But in a world where there's just a lot less war machines, perhaps there's a lot less like big shooting damage out there. Then maybe that is something that they're trying to anticipate. But a lot of this is grounded in the way the game is right now. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're right. Like,
no, you're right. Yeah,
I would say everything that I've just brought up is something that somebody has bitched about somewhere in the last couple of months. The only one that I think is like probably too light a touch is the Orcs and Goblins one, and that, like, I don't even think that's wrong. Fanatics are a lot less scary now than they were just because of that FAQ where sometimes they don't move. That like completely, like after your initial launch of Fanatics, which has now become a much better way to, which I like that you actually have to really plan out your Fanatic launches a little better than you used to. Mm-hmm. They're infinitely more unreliable than they ever were. Because you just never know what they're going to do. But yeah, like the Cathay ones, I'm sure they've play tested this a lot, or at least their little group has, to feel like this was enough or too much, because it almost feels too much. And
then like the classic, I think the classic response to this is just like, well, they're just going to figure out other things to break, and that's absolutely the case. Like
that is
true.
Like.
And I think if there's one thing that an exercise like this does often prove is like just how hard it is to make a game like this.
Yeah.
That doesn't have really jagged edges. That you can find ways in and maybe do stuff that doesn't look good or feel good. So yeah, I just want to, that's in that respect, I think a little bit to the original authors, but I mean the difference between them and these guys is it's their full-time job. And so, yeah.
So let's quickly go over the Game Changer pack.
Sure.
I'd read all of that last one.
Yeah,
do you guys
want me to help you, man?
Yeah,
You want to go back and forth a little bit, Danny?
Yeah, sure. That's good with me.
you guys do that, and I'll
All right.
listen.
So we already talked about regeneration can't be used by wounds lost by the unstable rule.
Mhm.
In addition to that, characters can choose to use mundane weapons even if they are equipped with a Dragon Slayer sword or a Burning Blade.
That's amazing. That's a really good change.
That's cool.
That also is breaking with the entire history of Warhammer Fantasy, for the record.
Yes.
Characters that move through the ranks must move into a rank in base contact with the opponent or cannot move through the ranks. No second rank. Note that the character itself doesn't need to be placed in base contact. Characters that move through the ranks must move into a rank in base contact with the opponent or cannot move through the ranks. They can't go to the second rank, I guess.
Yeah, that's what they're fixing.
Yeah.
Because now you can technically choose to make way to the second rank so that you can't get like you can put in your like one big attack and your opponent can only they can't target you. So
is that a ramification of the expansion of the fighting rank?
Yeah,
got it. Because
so
move through the ranks.
Let you move from a rank that's like adjacent to a fighting rank. So if you're charging the flank, you can like move your character actually into base to base contact instead of only flipping one attack.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. Like, because you still can't do it if you're already like
engaged in the front.
Engaged in the front, right? You still can't if you're so that at least, which is kind of like the one thing that always screws up people. So. What's next?
All right, and then we have characters and command models cannot be moved to the rear by redress the ranks until all rank and file models are moved.
That's good. That's like a little cheesy thing some people do. Is they use redress to like move their characters around without like sending them to the back so they can protect them.
Yep.
Making it wide enough that just the command can be in the front rank.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
At the end of a normal, this is actually, I believe, written by Shane, friend of the show, on Discord, I believe, because this looks very similar to the wording in our FAQ. At the end of a normal move or march, no model is allowed to have moved further than 3 times its movement when marching, and in marching column, or 2 times its movement in any other case, in addition to any other restriction, movement characteristic. This is to prevent units in marching formation to wheel. This is to prevent units in marching formations to wheel very far with their back rank while only spending minimal amounts of movement.
Yeah.
To do this, measure the distance between the absolute endpoint of the model and the starting point of the model. No point of the base may move further than the distance specified above. That is not Shane's verbiage, but he did draw my attention to this. So this is like the strung out line of, night goblins, or more importantly, hex wraiths.
Yeah.
Or like the big one was the Tomb Guard brick we've seen recently, where you do like Tomb Guard brick and the icon of her calf, and you line them up kind of sideways on your line, like 30 wide or whatever.
Yep.
And then you wheel and you end up in your opponent's flank, and then you use that extra movement to reform so that you're actually like in their flank to start the game effectively. This makes that
like a 25% turn.
Yeah. And so that was also a big mouthful, and there are various, I guess there's at least another version of this, but yeah, essentially the idea is like if you measure where the model is to where it went to, they can't go more than double or triple its movement depending on
and that's something that I think a lot of people when the game first came out thought was the way it should be, but then they FAQ'd it to be like, no, you can do whatever you want, only measure from the front. I remember
specifically for wheels. Yeah, specifically for wheels. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in our first or second episode, we said that you shouldn't be able to do this. And then we had people like, no, you can. And we were like, what? That's crazy.
This is also one of the things where I think it probably became more prevalent online than in person because it takes some cojones to do this with a straight face against somebody. It's like, come on.
Having done it a bunch with just like 5 warhounds, and the looks on some of my opponents' faces when I do it, I'm doing it in person with like a 40 wide or whatever Tomb Guard unit, I can only imagine what my opponent would do to me.
It's just a very this is a disappointed dad moment.
100%.
I raised you better. But rules is rules. All right.
So the next one we have is infantry can attack in 2 ranks, even if charging infantry.
So
I think they just mean like infantry just always get to fight in 2 ranks, even if they charge.
Exactly, yes. And that was clarified and will be tightened up. The +1 attack from Frenzy always applies, not only when charging. Brilliant. Yeah. Why? Why?
Why games like
Units
that?
that vanguards can charge in the first battle round, but not in the first beginning player turn. So not in the first turn of the game, but they can charge in the first battle round.
That's okay.
Fine.
It's still a disincentive to vanguarding, I guess, but it allows the opponent to react. A similar concept, I guess, to what they did with the Green Knight too. You have an opportunity to react.
Yeah.
Thrusting spears improve their AP by 1 in the front arc if the unit was charged. All right. Azrai spears go to AP 2.
Love that.
I like that a lot.
Maybe my favorite change in all of these. All trolls have the extra attack 1 and stubborn special rules.
I like that.
Amazing.
All ogres have magic resistance 1 and regeneration 6+, except the ogre loader, because you.
That guy in particular.
That guy in
particular.
Okay.
I mean, ogres needed some love. I don't know if they needed love after the renegade pack as much love. And it does change some things because there's like just so many magic items and like, I mean, even troll guts has to be boosted to get more than a 6+, right? So, but I can see it because they have struggled. For a while they were probably the worst army in the game, and
man, that's
I'm back
good
by the way.
and
And
was this? Jesus,
I can speak to this.
Oh, hi! What good timing. Were you
essentially this just deletes you from taking a 6 spell as an ogre player. I don't just if you're playing German comp, you just don't take a signature spell anymore because Toothcrack is just not good enough because it's only +1 toughness in your turn, and you already have 6 up regen everywhere else. So trying to reach higher to the second band to get Troll Guts to make it worth taking a slot, I'd say it's just not worth it unless you're
Lore Familiar's back, baby.
Yeah, I think Lore Familiar.
Gimme, right?
Yeah, Camel Totem was a gimme, and now you actually can have a debate with yourself whether you want to take it. I still think it's too good to leave on the shelf, but
so
you actually have a question now.
So as the tastemaker of Renegades, one thing that I always went back to was this something we've seen before? Like, does it have like a historical precedent?
Yeah.
And is this something that ogres are known for? Magic resistance and regeneration?
I would have said regen is definitely part of the core identity, but not magic res.
Yeah, but regen was always something you got from other things. I don't think there were many units that had it base ever. The magic resist, like there is some lore to it because of them being like around the maw all the time. Okay. But it was never like a special rule they had. It was just kind of like they would. It was kind of more based in the fact that they had those wounds and the toughness. Like ogres are around the maw a lot, so they're a little tougher, and magic doesn't hurt them as bad. But you never got them.
But like, I mean, the whole identity of my army in 8th edition was 6 dice Troll Guts every turn for the aura. It's just like, oh, cool. Everyone else is purple sunning. I'm Troll Guts and so that's why I think of it as one of the core identities because 4 turns out of 6 versus my ogre's army last edition, I would have had like almost army wide regen.
Yeah,
I also gotta say, trolls having stubborn just feels right.
It does. It does. Sure. If they're going to be stupid, they should be stubborn as well. Like it makes sense.
Because if
you're going to be stupid, you better be tough.
That's right. That's right. Bretonia, the Grail Reliquary has unit strength 6, and if the unit has a Grail Reliquary, the whole unit has Blessings of the Lady.
This is good because Battle Pilgrims were trashed here.
Yeah,
like internal balance wise, there was just zero reason to take him.
Is there a reason to take him now?
Tony doesn't need a stubborn block, right?
Nah, they don't struggle for stubborn. But this
are they stubborn or are they unbreakable?
Well,
no,
it's
stubborn, right?
There are other units like the Yeoman and stuff like that. They have stubborn shield wall, so you weren't struggling for an unmovable brick You could just get it whenever you wanted. But so they're bringing up the Grail Reliquary to do something different and have an invulnerable save.
And I think this would make it unbreakable because I believe it has to have. No, it's if they're near the
a Grail unit.
Yeah, Grail unit, they get unbreakable, right? So
that's right. Which I recently learned.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You go, Danny. You good, mate?
Okay. So we got Chaos Demons, Demon Prince, Heralds, and Heralds have access to magic items. Units have access to magic banners from the rulebook.
That's huge for Chaos.
Massive.
Should that just be a renegade thing?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I like the delineation they've made as well. So it's not greater demons because there is some greater demon builds that could get out of hand if you just let I'm give me a keeper. A keeper of secrets. It just needs to have rulebook magic items to go really over the top. Your doppelganger keeper would pop off like crazy. In addition to the thirst, it probably gets some pretty good stuff as well. But I'm happy they made that delineation that the greater demons don't get access to this because there will be.
Even just the DP getting access to Ogre Blade instead of or Armor Meteoric Iron instead of just like the Aether whatever is like huge. So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I like the idea of a decent sized unit of Crushers with a rampaging banner as well. I think that's nice.
Dwarfs models on shield bearers have unit strength 4. Cool.
That's good. It's just a little buff. And that makes sense.
There's 4 of them on the model, right? It's 3 shield bearers and a lord.
I'm doubling up because that was a little soup song. Slayer host may field up to 6 Doom Seekers and inherits the special rules of Royal Clan.
Ooh. What are special rules of Royal Clan again?
Everyone's silently thinking about it.
Never mind.
that app. One moment here.
Oh, does that mean they get more points to spend?
Yes, they can spend the next additional 25 points on magic items.
Yeah. Oh wow! So you could have 6 Doom Seekers. You could do like 800 plus points of points denial in 6 Doom Seekers. No, it would be
Still sucks.
Yeah.
It still sucks if you can't take 20 of them. It's 20 or nothing, guys.
Yeah. I'm just of the opinion more than part of me thinks the game should just have an enshrine no more than 4 of a thing. But this
is kind of fun for Slayers. During a turn in which unit Royal Clan makes a charge move of 3 inches or more, or made a follow-up move, it gains +1 to its strength. That's fun.
That is fun.
Oh yes, they also have a strength bonus. Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
So they're like not really rocking. Guys, Slayer host is so good in German comp. Take it.
Well, you can only take 6 Doom Seekers though. That's a lot less than 26 or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot less than what you should be allowed to take.
By rights, I should be able to take 26 Doom Seekers.
Peter, you want to do Lizardmen?
Sure, I have had Lizardmen. My favorite army is actually good. This is actually great. All Saurus heroes switch their scaly skin, which is considered just heavy armor right now, for a suit of light armor and armored hide 1. Yeah. This is so good because now you can get your 2-up old bloods back easily instead of having to like make them stupid and a bunch of other shit to make it work. Your Scarvets can get up there now too. Oh, thank you. And then the Apotheosis spell, which they spelled wrong, but that's okay, can target units of the monster troop type, but will only ever restore 1 wound.
That feels
makes me sad, but it makes sense with the Renegade change, where the Slan is back to being monstrous infantry. So you can still heal your Slan. You're just not also like Giga healing Stegodons and stuff. I don't think it's super necessary.
Well, the Slan can heal himself because he's monstrous infantry.
That's what I'm saying.
He can't heal himself because he's a monstrous creature. But yeah, I don't know. I think this lines with this is in line with Invocation and Arise. So
yeah. No, but what I'm saying is like this: if you play non-renegade Lizardmen, this would hurt them in that you could only heal the Slan 1 wound because he's a monster and non-renegade. But in Renegade, it does. He still gets his D3.
Ah, gotcha.
I also don't know if that's like almost nobody takes Apotheosis even without the buff. Maybe in Germany it's like the rage. Skaven, you can take one Demon Prince of Nurgle without wings from the Warriors of Chaos book, which may not take any demonic gifts and takes items from the core rulebook or the Skaven army list. That's hot.
So that to me is that's a really clever way, obviously, to get your Vermin Lord back in the game.
Yeah,
that's
what this is. But I find it's this might be the first one I thought of as an overreach, where you're breaking down the walls between different factions. I understand what they were doing and understand why they're doing it, because this is literally just like you can play your Vermin Lord now.
I think this is such a clever way to get the Vermin Lord back in the game without having to invent a data slate.
I just worry it creates a bad precedent.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole pack is bad precedent, but it's good.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
like they changed so much that why stop?
Yeah, that's fair. The
thing about
the Fellblade.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was moving on, but go for it. So.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, Skaven in particular it's just so hard to make them feel like Skaven without literally rewriting them. It's really they're just like, you could probably make an army out of them, like with this and Renegade changes and stuff, but like it's just so hard. Like to me, like when I stare at the Doom Wheel, or I stare at the Warp Lightning Cannon, or the lack of the Vermin Lord, it's like, how do you get that back without literally inventing or just going to Warhammer Armies Project and cut and pasting it and putting it in the game? So this to me was like, holy shit, that's a way you can do it. You just call the Vermin Lord a Demon Prince of Nurgle without wings. Is that good? Does it help Skaven? I don't know, but it definitely makes it feel better.
It's interesting they went with the Nurgle one as well rather than the Zinch. I suppose the Zinch one was the only one that would have made sense thematically, right? Like that Scryer, Clan Scryer one. Anyway, the Bearer of the Fellblade loses a single wound on a roll of a D6 instead of a roll of a D3. So you go into 1 in 6 instead of 1 in 3, which is much nicer. Big fan. And then the Doom Wheel Zap special rule cannot hit the Doom Wheel itself because wording is hard. And right now it will shoot itself if it has nothing else to shoot. The template stops when they hit it. So the template cannot cross the Doom Wheel. How do we feel about that? I like that because the Doom Wheel is a bag of crap right now. And I'd like to see it back on the table.
It's also like good if it gets surrounded now, because you're way more likely to actually hit stiff. Now you'll move the template. If it moves over the Doom Wheel, it stops at the Doom Wheel. So
I mean, the Doom Wheel can still kill itself in one round.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
The Doom Wheel is just like so bad in this kind of iteration that I'm happy that they're doing something. Almost anything is better, but it's just so far from how cool it was. It's one of the sadder cases of the legacy factions.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, what else? Sisters of the Thorn get to choose their spell again from the Lord of Athel Loren, which they used to, right?
Well, it's the Lord of Athel Loren now.
Yeah, or their chosen lore. They still get both.
Chosen lore. I edited that out. Okay, yep.
Yeah, so now you can get one of the 6 spells from Athaloran, or you can choose from Battle Magic or Elementalism, which is fine because Sisters of the Thorn kind of got double nerfed, right? And then triple nerfed when they nerfed Pillar of Fire. So there's really no reason now for the Sisters nerfed.
Such classic Games Workshop game patching is never look back.
Yeah, never look back.
Never look back. If you changed a rule once before and you've changed another rule that would have undone the need for that previous change, never look back. You don't go back and fix that.
They literally have an in tray and an out tray. And as soon as something hits the out tray, it's deleted from consciousness.
God.
Yeah. But this is good. This is very good. This was a unit that was a staple. And, when we could multi-spam the freaking
Pillar of Fire. Yeah.
Pillar of Fire, sure, it was bad. Now that we can't do that, you could have undone all the nerfs apart from that was already fixed. Bretonians set the points cost.
Are we doing the whole pointed pack?
We're not going to do the point pack. We'll just what we'll say about the point pack, just for the sake of kind of real skimming, because we've already an hour and a half in. They buff monsters for Beastmen, so your Cygors, your Dragon Ogres, Sheggoths, they go up to toughness 6. any unit that you can think of that in your mind is bad, their upgrades are now like free or like 1 point.
Yeah.
So like command groups are now free. Drilled might be free for them. So like Dark Elves get a lot of buffs. The Knightly Orders see a lot of changes, as well as like state troops for Empire. They get some cool little additions. Lizardmen see some changes to like how their heroes work. Like if you take a Saurus hero, Saurus warriors go up to initiative 2 and weapon skill 4, which is a huge buff for them. And then there's like a lot of individual point cost changes for our units that just aren't taken by anybody. Yeah. I would recommend you kind of go through that yourselves, guys, because they're small changes, but they can make a big difference. Another big one for Wood Elves is they gave 5+ wards to all tree spirits, which they don't.
Thank God.
Good.
Against non-magical attacks, so they basically turn them into demons like they used to be.
Yeah. Yep. I like that a lot because they're just pointless. And yeah, G-Dub, over the years, G-Dub has tried in various other means to make that portion of the Wood Elf identity playable, and it just never landed.
I feel like they're still suffering. I only know it by reputation, but I guess it was 6th Wood Elves. Like they were like skirmishing, double attack, like ferocious monsters. The Dryads.
Yeah, they were,
and I feel like they've been suffering for that sin ever since.
Yeah,
they were Savage Orcs for a time, and it was kind of wild.
And then they sucked real bad in 7th and real bad
in 8th. Yeah.
Until the end of 8th, and then they got their new book just before the end times, and they were like crazy for 5 minutes.
Was it Durthu? Was the character?
Yeah, Durthu.
Yeah. Durthu slapped me around once or twice, but then the rest of the army was just like meh.
There was also the end times Durthu.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, who got even better. He wasn't what's his face Tyrion level or anything, but he was still pretty strong.
I was also the Tree Man Ancient with Lore of Undeath at the end of 8.
Oh, right, yeah, the Tree Man Ancient with Lore of Undeath. By the way, like end times get shit on a lot, but some of the scenes in the end times, that elf one was real bad, except when Durthu up Tyrion, because that was like such a cool scene.
Yay! There was much
he literally threw the dude into another continent. Like it's
we all wish we could do that.
This feels like Patreon content.
This is so good. Anyway, yeah, if you guys want to listen to us talk bullshit about Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, or answer Patreon questions and go a little more in depth on things, you guys should check out our part 2. That's it for part 1 because we've talked for like an hour and a half.
We have time for an hour and a half, but I do want to get a word in edgewise, which is I think going through those two things is a really great demonstration of like let the market figure it out versus try and fix everything. And I think both have some serious dangers. Well, not serious dangers, but both have their downsides.
For sure.
One is just super easy, and that's why we took that version.
And I don't think there's a better, I think that one will attract a certain type of person and the other will attract the other.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them are necessarily wrong. And I do have some, when you read through that entire pack, it feels like the German comp one, it does feel like a completely different game versus where you do the square-based ways of I'm still playing all the rules. I don't need to know new stuff. I just have more stuff to play with. So there's huge benefits to both.
Can I do my comp and a metaphor for everybody? If you guys haven't done a huge amount of comp metaphors, because a lot of people look at comp as a divisive thing. I look at comp as two forms of a game. Everybody remembers Half-Life, yeah?
Yeah.
How Half-Life became Counter-Strike, and then you had Portal, and then you had all these things that came from essentially the same engine, the same platform. Mm-hmm. That's a great metaphor for comp.
Mods. They're mods.
Yeah. They're mods. Yeah. Well, so what Val has done is essentially a patch fix to Half-Life. Whereas what German comp is Counter-Strike. It's a new game based on the same platform and bones of a previous game. It's much more akin to what they've done.
I liken it to if you guys ever played XCOM 2. They released the community released an update to XCOM 2 called The Long War, That's what I see German comp as. If you want to look up like how a game is exactly the same but completely different, you should look up XCOM 2: The Long War, because it is wild.
Warcraft 3 would be a better analogy. How it had that platform that turned into like tower defense, and we got MOBAs, and we got all these things from this one engine. And cool. Old World is Warcraft 3, but sometimes you want to play a bit of tower defense, you want to play a bit of a MOBA. And so German comps are right there for you. Or if you want to just play a patch fixed, much more streamlined and competitive version of, well, actually not necessarily the conversion, just more even standard version. You got square based, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of others. I'm still waiting to see the Swedish comp that I heard was almost done a year ago. So,
they're cracking on. And by the way, we're doing disservice here. I just want to at least play a lip service to Aussie comp, because I enjoy some of the content from the guys who put that together. And I'd say it's basically it's closer to just the restrictions portion of it. Would that be a fair way to?
I would say that. If you guys want to check them out, Old World Fanatics is their YouTube channel. They put out some really great content. There's lots of episodes. Pash and I can't remember the other guy's name. They do really good work. And yes, you can search Aussie Comp. I believe their last update was 2.0, which was like in April or May.
They've definitely come out with their every maybe it was WTC, but I think the whole world went this. So everyone updated or came out with their ideas like in the last week. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's kind of crazy that everyone's comp systems have coalesced in such a small time. And so those people out there being like, oh no, it's going to divide the community, yada 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 yada. Sure. In a short term, it might, but like Val speaks to, the market will balance itself, and in probably about 6 months' time, we'll either be playing the vanilla version straight off the shelf, or we'll be playing one or maybe two max versions of comp, because the community will just gravitate to the ones that the tournament organizers' customers want to play. So when a TO puts on an event, they'll be like, okay, lads, which comp do we want to play? And then enough of events will start tilting one way or another. It'll catch fire, and one or two versions will be the ones we coalesce around, and it'll be just fine, guys. I've seen this happen in a myriad of different games across the years, so I wouldn't stress too much.
You're a different game.
And you know where they don't give a shit about comp or ask for comp? In the games that Games Workshop actually manages. AOS and 40K. No one's crying out for. No one's trying to come up with clever solutions for 40K and AOS because they're being provided.
Yeah,
correct. And if at some point things change and we start getting provided that, then comm systems do drop off, and we've seen that with both of these game systems.
It's over. Yep. Immediately.
We'll all be out of jobs. We'll never have to make another podcast.
That's right.
Finally.
The opposite is true. The opposite.
Sweet release.
On that note, Falcon, you brought us in. Take us out.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps, Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.